Hello, and welcome back to the Single Society. This is the podcast series where we will be exploring all that is best in singles' life, reframing being single in a much more positive way. My name is Jo, and I'm very excited to have you with me today because we are going to be exploring as openly as possible what is great about being single. Now, this is, of course, a topic with lots of different areas, so we're going to spend today looking at the big picture, reflecting on why is it exciting to be single when so often and so sadly we as society can look at the very opposite. We can focus on what's challenging about it, what's better about being in a relationship. And I don't want to ignore that those challenges can feel very real or invalidate your feelings if being single is something you are personally struggling with at the moment. But I do also want to create a space where we can look honestly at all the advantages and the opportunities that come with being single. So, probably one of the biggest ones is that you have this space while you are single, whether that's a choice for life or a choice for a period of time, this window of space that you are in now. Being single creates the opportunity to really get to know yourself in a whole other way. When you are in a relationship, there is a temptation to fit yourself and mold your life around another person. Now, that can also be joyful, and I don't want to take away from that. But that isn't always a positive thing. It can have limitations because there is a danger, there's a risk that you end up molding yourself so much that in the process, you're not actually completely sure of who you are yourself. So, I'm going to open this up even further and say if you are somebody listening to this who is in a relationship at the moment, please do not feel that I am in any way attacking you. I hope that you are in a very happy and a very positive relationship. But it is of fundamental importance for each of us as individuals to spend some time getting to know who we are. And I know when I say that, it can sound very hippie, very abstract. So, let me give you some examples of what I actually mean. Think about things like, what do you like to eat? When do you want to eat it? How much do you want to cook? When will you cook it? How often do you want to get takeaways? Where will you get them from? For those of you who are single, you probably make this choice every single day, like what you're going to eat, when you're going to eat. And I think often the conversation can be around, oh, it's so much harder to cook for one, or it's more difficult to manage portions. And you know what? Yeah, there is some truth in some of those things as well. But actually, because that's the slant, that's the focus of the conversation, we miss the other angle, which is that when you're single, you are getting to make those choices for yourself all of the time. You're not having to think, right, okay, my partner is going to want such and such, and they've got X thing at this time, so therefore we've got to eat at Y. Even if actually that's not very convenient for you, that might not fit in conveniently for your schedule. So, take some time, whether you're in a relationship or not, to truly reflect on something as simple as food, what you like to eat and when. It's fundamental to our everyday. And then if you're single, then take some space to realize that's an advantage that you have. You get to make those choices. And if you're in a relationship, then you can also think, okay, right, this is something that I need to think a bit more proactively about, because actually I've just been doing automatically what works best for my partner, but what works for me? What do I want? And it's not just food, it's every area of our lives. It's thinking about travel, it's thinking about what you watch, it's your sleep routines, it is every element of how you design your life. Being single gives you so much freedom and flexibility to truly design the life that you want. And it is wild to me that that isn't something that is more fully celebrated in our society. And I do sometimes think that there is just a little bit of envy from people who are in relationships, particularly perhaps partners who always have to fit in with the other person. They can feel a little bit defensive about that choice and therefore want to look down on being single, because what they see from the outside is the freedom that comes with that. So if you're somebody who feels like you receive a lot of negative messaging about a single lifestyle, I don't want to invalidate any concerns that you may have, but then I think it's also important to step back and think for yourself, what areas do I have choice over? Where do I get control? So just take some time now, think about it, celebrate those things, and really make the most of them. It may not even mean changing anything, it could just be acknowledging it and being grateful for it. But of course, it might also mean that you're like, oh, do you know what? Being single for this window of time or for my life means that I have opportunities to do the things that I really want to do. And I think there's a temptation to think, oh, well, I'll do it later. I'll do it at some undefined future point, or worst of all, I'll do it if and when I meet the right person. When actually, the best time is now. So things like going on holiday by yourself are really exciting, can be really freeing opportunities, and mean that you have that space to plan the holiday that you really want. It's all about you, which is very exciting. Now, again, I do want to acknowledge that planning something like a solo trip may feel very daunting, and I would certainly recommend scaling up to it. If you're thinking, no, that sounds great, fab, good for you, absolutely love that, please by all means stop listening and go and book your trip. But if you're thinking, oh, that does sound quite a lot to go away completely by myself and plan all of that and do all those things, then scale it up. You know, take yourself on a solo date to a cinema, for example. Just get comfortable kind of being in a room by yourself. The cinema's quite a nice, easy one to ease in with because no one's talking. You're all just sat there watching the film. No one else is going to really realise that you're by yourself. You might want to scale up. You might want to go to coffee shops by yourself, go for walks by yourself. Try taking yourself to dinner. If you want to just do like a lunchtime cafe to start, and then you could try going to fancy a restaurant, take yourself on a date, dress up for it, give yourself that time. That all kind of builds confidence with being by yourself and celebrating those aspects of single life. And then, of course, you can do things like just mini trips within. I'm speaking from the UK, but from wherever in the world you're listening to, traveling near you first and then pushing it further. So this is all just to say that there are hundreds of advantages to being single. I've barely scratched the surface. It's not that one thing is right and one thing is wrong. There is joy to be found in both, but so often we can focus on the negative, and I just want us to try and reframe and reshift the conversation a little bit. I'd love to know what it is that you enjoy about being single. If indeed you are, let me know in the comments, and if you haven't already, please subscribe so you see when more videos are coming out. I'll catch you in the next one.